it's one step back, and that this is normal, and it doesn't mean you're not healing. It just means this is normal, and don't get discouraged.
Yes. Yeah. That's a huge win for you. Yeah, I just did a little post on Instagram about that same thing. I think lately I'm really realizing it's like managing people's feelings is almost more important than managing the
Yeah,
case.
when you have those down days like today, I ate some pumpkin bread with chocolate gluten free that I make, and I just usually take just a nibble and call it good. But I was feeling so fantastic that day. I felt so normal that I kept, cutting a little piece off and a little piece off, and the next 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the next morning, pounding headache,
Oh,
nauseous. I think it's the
oh,
sulfur in the chocolate. I know I have sulfur issues, and I can eat 3 chocolate chips, but I can't eat six. Like there's a fine line. And if I go over the line, boom, huge shame.
wow.
And so I'm like, okay, reminder, stay in your lane. You might have a good day and a really good day here and there. Be grateful for it. Don't cheat. Just enjoy the day, and don't, it's okay to test the water now and then. We kind of have to know where we're at. But so now I'm a little bit kind of kind of hammered today, and I'm like, it's okay, but when your body gets physiologically icky, it goes straight to your brain and makes you like, I'm never gonna get better. This is, it goes crazy places, and I'm like, no, 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 this is just a day. You could feel great tomorrow or the next day, and so the
That's good.
psychology.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
That's
just,
super well said. And yeah, it does affect your actual brain when you're foggy and you're off. Yeah. And sometimes we're not making like the best thought choices, so to speak, when we're under the influence of those toxins. So, yeah. Yeah. You just gotta like be the observer, right? Like, oh, this is going on. This happened. And try not to like get too wrapped up in it. That's awesome. So proud of you.
thanks.
Okay. Um, all right. Hi to everybody on here. I started recording, I think. Um, so I think I only got a couple questions beforehand on the spreadsheet from one of our Karens. Was that you, Karen P? Okay. Um, So I'll hit those. And I had a couple announcements or ideas. One is that all the quizzes are over. So there's a form to, well, if you haven't finished your quizzes, it's okay, but there aren't any more beyond these 8 lessons. So once you finish your quizzes, there's a little feedback form to fill out, and then we'll send you the certificate stuff. So I don't know if that feedback form link, I think it's on your page, but let me look and let me just check in with my assistant to help get that process all going. Um, I know there were like a couple few questions that people were like, you didn't really say this right, and I don't know if we ever went back to fix those. So don't be too upset if you like feel like a couple questions you got wrong because I didn't really ask it right. We really try to set it up so as long as you're taking the class, you're gonna pass the quizzes. Let's see what else. So in 2 weeks, we'll have like a case studies call, and it makes it a lot easier if you can submit stuff beforehand, and if the case is you or someone very close to you. So I'll make sure that form is also on there. Um, I have asked, make sure you take off oh, thank you, Karen. Take off like the addresses and birthdays and stuff if you don't want us to see that, or you could like screenshot certain parts of your labs. But it's fun to do a case like in its entirety where we can look at the labs and look at all the things and really like handle a case in real time. So I'm happy to do that for your own case. It doesn't, don't feel like you have to you know, feel free to make yourself a priority. But I do like to get it beforehand just so we can like make sure everything, can pull up correctly and all that stuff. My third thing is we've had a lot of questions about having a group, like a Facebook group or similar. This is my ideas or my thoughts, and I'll also put this in a like a maybe we can add this to the feedback form actually. I'm not going to be, just to be honest with my own like experience, I'm not great at like maintaining a group on an online group. What I do like to do is teach. So here's my idea is to have like a monthly membership, low price thing. I was thinking $47 a month, where every month I'll teach on some topic that you guys have requested, and then we'll just do a Q&A on whatever you want. And we can have a group. And I'd love for someone to be a member for free and run the group a little bit because I don't want to run the group. I know myself. That way, there's a little maintenance of the group um, being, kept up. So I think that would be really fun. Actually, we can kind of deep dive into different things, whether it's like reading labs or like last week we talked about that bacteria that I could, get more into. We can talk about whatever, maybe have guests sometimes. So that's kind of my idea moving forward. Oh, and the other benefit would be every time we have a live TMT, you could join again and come to the Q&As. So that's like another 12 Q&As a year you could join, a way to meet more people. Um, yeah, and maybe we'll kind of start to form more of a network and support system for each other. I feel like we're at the point we can because now we've had 3 TMTs and there's enough people that we could have a little group um, and grow this thing. So that's my thought on that. So I'll share that as well. Okay, so Karen said, yes, great, Karen. Thank you. So, mm, so maybe don't fill out the feedback form yet. Let me add some more questions to it. If you already did, it's fine. But I want to be able to communicate with you guys a little bit about this idea and feel free to just like give me feedback because now it's just totally unformed. It's just an idea. So if you like want something different, let me know and we can hopefully create something that I want it to have value for you guys, obviously. Um, so, you know, and I want it to be fun for me. And I like to talk with you guys and I like to like learn things and teach things. So okay, so let's start with Karen's question. So Karen, you asked about, do I recommend a travel air purifier? And I think the second one was supplements that um, irritate histamines, right, Karen? Yeah, okay. I don't have a certain travel humidifier that I recommend, but I have some thoughts on it. Definitely like HEPA, HEPA level of filtration. I don't really agree with those filters that are filterless. I don't really totally agree with that concept, and I've looked into it a lot. I think size matters, right? So if you're flying on an airplane, you can't bring a humongous filter. You're going to have to bring a smaller filter. Apparently, you could run them on an airplane if you want to be that person who puts an air filter on the airplane. But I supposedly they filter that air. I think more importantly is the hotel room, which is probably why you're asking it, Kieran, because I mentioned that. A lot of people, when they're trying to get back to their life and they travel and they stay somewhere, they get affected by the air quality where they stay. So if it's a car trip, I would say just bring your home air purifier because they don't, how can I say, the smaller they are, the less air volume they can handle, right? So if you're in a hotel suite and your air filter is this big, it's not going to get the whole place very well. So if you're really feeling it, you're really not well, first of all, I'd say look into that hotel as much as you can. Ask questions, think about what like factors would matter for you. Bring a big old one if you can. You can also think about bringing a diffuser or a mold candle. But there are travel ones that are HEPA. There's some like simple ones like that Home Depot sells. There's another one called, I think, Blue Air that looked a little nicer and more expensive. So I think it just really depends, like how big can you lug around, um, type of thing. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Um, some of the good brands have smaller ones. I have an Air Doctor now and I affiliate for them, and I've been super happy with my Air Doctor. The filters are a little spendy to replace, but I think that's just part of the deal. What else? Oh, the supplements that irritate histamines. So, yeah, the really sensitive person, man, the really sensitive person, it hardly matters what supplement you give them, they're going to react. So some of them are true like histamine liberators, and some just people aren't really ready to take much. So the ones that can liberate histamines, potentially like using different enzymes could liberate histamines. I know some of my clients can't tolerate citric acid at all. That came up when we had my electrolyte. Um, some probiotics strains. I did pull that up for you, so let me grab it. So there's some histamine friendly probiotics that don't obviously don't have those strains that can be a problem. I'll put this in the chat too. So here's the strains they suggest to avoid. So it's really not that many. Uh, and then there's one they mentioned that sometimes is called a problem, but actually may help. Um, Seems like a few of the supplements like Saccharomyces boulardii. So this is a simple one I found on Amazon from this company called Vitamunk, and they make a low histamine probiotic and a histamine reducing second supplement. It's pretty good price point, and sometimes, especially like when I'm working at my chiropractic clinic, like I just want to give people like an easy Amazon link. I don't want them to like have to even go to, like, I just don't even want to, I just want them to get it, right? So there's a client in my chiropractic clinic who was in a car accident. You know, luckily she was open-minded to some natural medicine stuff, and she was clearly having histamine issues. And she bought both of these supplements, these from Vitamunk, totally like helped her recover faster, anxiety, like everything. Like she recovered, she went from being like to like, I mean, she was out of there pretty quickly. So it was cool to see. And I know we're all like trying to figure out histamines constantly because they're just so common with our clients. Let me see if I can find their other product real quick. Uh, I think it's this guy. And I have some in my store, but I wasn't able to. Well, interestingly, this has vitamin C, which some people say, oh, ascorbic acid, which some people say irritates their histamines. Um, but this has like the porcine enzyme to break down histamines and some other things. So I thought it was pretty good that it had the porcine one plus some other things. So I think I sell those separately in my shop because I couldn't find them all in one, so it kind of makes it more expensive. So did that answer it enough, Karen, for you?
Yes, thank you. And I had used the candles myself early in my mold journey. Well, air purifiers always, but to be honest, because I was when I used them, I was in the very early, really harsh stages. I couldn't tell if they helped. So I just have a question. I'm still in recovery, healing stages. And I haven't rebought them, but do you find they're helpful?
I find
Uh,
that candles can be helpful. Like, well,
mhm.
this is when we were using them. So we moved into a new space and basically ruined it by bringing some of our own things. So then we were starting to be affected and we'd have to like clean the house and then I'd run the candles and I'd feel like better, you know. So it's not like a permanent thing. I would say more it's like, okay, you're going back to your house to like, you know, move out or, yeah, it's more of like a little holdover. I don't know what other people have, if that you felt good from them or not, but they just have essential oils and maybe citrus seed oil too that can kind of neutralize mycotoxins. Um, but yeah, some people are like, want to rely on it too heavily. It's just a little holdover. Um, Anita, I put that link second in this ginormous links here. Um, yeah. Okay.
Those were good suggestions for travel, though, because it is interesting when you start asking questions and really paying attention to a space. I've realized, wow, there's some spaces I shouldn't be staying, when you travel.
Oh
So, I
yeah.
mean, it's something I never obviously ever had to think about, but it's crazy once you start analyzing. So, I like the candle idea if you're, like traveling on an airplane and need to pack something for later type situation to use. Like if you can't pack a purifier, a travel
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
having the candle, I think, or maybe the creating a like a 2-ounce spray, even
Uh,
with the is it called the Citrus Safe essential oil blend?
yeah, you totally could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like with distilled water and like just a touch of alcohol for preservation. That would be a good solution too, I would think, for travel. Just kind of have like a little something in your space. You could spray it around if you needed to.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's a great little like freebie PDF idea too, like things to bring when you travel or questions to ask. I mean, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, new spaces are bad too," but the I feel like the odds are lower in a newer hotel, it's going to be better than some crusty 150-year-old Airbnb bed and breakfast like no, I would avoid those, you know. Opening windows, certainly. A lot of times for me with Airbnbs, they've been just using so much fragrance stuff in there. It drives me insane. I'm really sensitive to that. So I'm just like opening windows, if look unplugging, the air plug-in things. Um, yeah, there was one place recently I actually did tell the owner, I think there's mold in here, and they were like, "Oh, that's." So it's in San Diego, and it was like a big, nice house, and they made a little side thing into an Airbnb. So it was part of the house, and it was very new and very clean. But I know it and well, and I have not told like anybody that hardly. I don't just go and like make a fuss every time I go to Airbnb, but I was like, so it had a sliding door. It was really small. So I slept with the sliding door open the entire night and I just slept by the door and I was like, this isn't great, but here we are. And then the second night, it seemed kind of better to me. I think sometimes they're closed up too, and that makes it worse. So I told them they probably never will do anything about it. And, it is a good looking, place. But like, even I'm really well recovered. I think that even makes me more sensitive. Like I can still be there. If I were really sensitive, I would have had to leave. But well, I'll tell a second story about that. It wasn't so bad that I had to leave, but I could tell it because I think my body is like a little more. I mean, I'm usually never in mold. So if I am now, I'm like, I will say my parents rented a whole house in Massachusetts, a little bit older, but not super older, maybe from the 60s or 70s. And before I went over there, they were like, we kind of think it might have mold. I could not even be in it more than 30 seconds. It was making me nauseous and I kept having to spit constantly. So thank God I hadn't rented that place or needed to stay in that place. But I've done a lot of traveling, and those are probably the only two times I had once when we were just come out of mold. We took a quick overnight in a hotel, because kind of side of the road we were tired of driving and I couldn't stay in that one. But this is a long span of time and only like a few examples for me. I'm sure you guys have had your own stories. Um, and sometimes I just kind of forget to think, oh, what condition is this house going to be in, or what am I getting into? Luckily, I think I'm pretty healthy enough that I can deal with it. Like even maybe that moldy house that my parents had. I don't know what I would have done exactly, but maybe just stayed in the best, room of the house with the window open. I don't know what I would have done. That one wasn't great. Um, so yeah, it's sort of like just trying to be aware. And I think you have a good idea to bring some things along with you.
I like the idea of asking because that's a good point. Checklists about the windows because some hotel rooms you can't even open a window.
True.
If you're getting a
Yeah.
new one, a new hotel, like, more than a few stories tall. So
Yeah, that's true.
many, so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for going over that.
Yeah, I think it depends the stage you're into, right? We covered the stages on this last presentation. Like if somebody's really, can barely ride in a car, can barely do this, can barely, they're not really ready. It really probably shouldn't travel yet.
Mm.
So,
Can I just share a just super fast
yeah,
story?
yeah.
I just because what you were saying about talking to the woman. I have a relative whose house I stayed in, and I couldn't stay downstairs because I knew there was mold down there. And I said, "Can I sleep upstairs?" And people had done it before on her futons, so I knew she would be likely open. And she's like, "Sure." And I had to sleep with the windows open, and the climate allowed that. But the funny thing is I don't think she was really open to she asked me, I told her I was sensitive, and then she asked me some more questions. I'm like, I think you have mold. And the funny thing is, and I don't know the name of this person, but she has a friend who has written a book on mold some
Really?
years back. Yeah, I got to find out her name. But the point of the story is this is someone who has a friend who's written on mold and published. And then I'm telling her stuff, and I still felt like both her and her husband are in denial. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think most people are in denial or don't want to confront it, even with
Yeah.
tons of facts. So, my story.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I like just pick your battles because it's like, and I guess everyone can have a different approach. But like, if someone's a friend or I'm staying at their house or whatever, or they're just someone I'm meeting in passing, even at my chiropractic clinic, I'm not gonna like go off about mold because that's kind of frankly like a toxic behavior to be going off about something like they don't even know anything about. Like they have to meet in the middle or have some curiosity or whatever it is. Otherwise, why get into it? You could stand there, not that you would, but you could lecture them for 8 hours, and if they're not interested, they're not interested, right?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is she was curious and asking me, but I could tell neither her or her husband would really like I wasn't doing any convincing. I was just like telling her what I knew because she was asking. So she was curious and open. So I shared a little bit, just a little bit. It was just interesting because it's psychology, right? Human
Yeah.
nature.
Do they have any health conditions?
Yeah. I'm pretty certain her husband is suffering from it
Mm.
and perhaps her to a certain level, but him more so.
I mean, that's sometimes the bridge that
Mm.
if someone's like, oh, I really need to get a handle on this, and it might be from mold, then they may come over. But again, it probably has to be like in their time, and it might never happen. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just all psychology. I witnessed it in my own family when I was having my issues even. So it's interesting.
yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. And I'm not usually one to gripe about health insurance world, but I've been observing it more lately. I think because I'm in a clinic that takes insurance. Now in Arizona, it's rarely covered for acupuncture. So there's some things covered for acupuncture, but the acupuncture benefits for the average younger person, you're not going to have them, or the high deductible. Just most people won't pay for anything or not much for their health if it's out of pocket. And honestly, like if you and that doesn't always have to be a big shame issue. It's like sometimes they're just their mindset there is such that they're just not interested. It's out of the box, or they really just don't have much money. That's a lot of Americans, frankly, too. So I'm not talking about so much house and remediation. It's just like anything out of the system or costs that are outside the system. It's just not in most people's radar. Like they're just like they're not having it. They're not interested. So, but that's okay because there's plenty of people who are. So I just focus on those people and helping those people. So, yeah. Okay, Meredith saying she had saw a travel ozone machine. Isn't an air purifier better? Yeah, I would say so. I don't really like the air ozone things. Um, we had bought one. Well, my ex-husband had bought one once, and again, it's sort of like not really a filter. Potentially, you have to have the ozone low enough so you can breathe it. Um, you can't have it too high. Yeah, I don't. I think ozone in treatment can be really great, but I don't find it to be a good like purifier like that you can just have in a room hanging out, in my opinion. So, yeah. What do you think, Meredith?
Hi, thank you. Yes, I don't know, I'm kind of confused about the whole ozone thing in general, because it's so toxic, and I understand that like at different there are situations where it's not, but I think you just have to be really in the know. And I had someone ask me a question one time, and they were like, "Well, what do you think about ozone?" And I'm like, well, what about it? Like, there's so much, like, for the house, for the body, for the sinuses, for the, like, it's just
Yeah.
so much that I actually kind of steer clear of it because I just don't like, I don't really understand it. So, but I just don't feel good about it. And
Yeah.
this conference was, it was interesting because the conference is very choosy about the vendors that they have there. And
Which one was it? You can say, I don't care.
oh,
You
it's
want?
MAPS conference. MAPS,
I don't
it's
know that one.
medical. So it started out as decades ago as an autism, like oh, what was it called?
Oh,
Au- Something autism now, like beat autism now, or something like that. It's a actually it was a really special conference. It is a group of um clinicians from across all different areas who basically are just really moving the needle for long-term child, uh, any kind of chronic illness. So that
yeah,
it started
that's
with
awesome.
autism. There's now a lot of PANS, PANDAS, long COVID. Now they talk about a lot. But so and there wasn't an air purification company there, and there was this ozone company, and the guy is there like spraying stuff in the air and showing you how it like gets rid of it. And I'm like, but I still didn't really understand it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think did I do a deep dive on ozone on one of these slides? I think I did one of these presentations because I just wanted to understand it better, and it depends like the concentration and blah blah blah, and like yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah,
So I would say I do some like dabbling in it. But yeah, I don't recommend it as an air purifier. If you're having like a big remediation and they want to do it as like a bomb thing, I don't know, maybe. But if I don't know if any of you guys watch the Microbino talk in here, but he talks
Yeah,
about like what is created when that is transformed. Like we don't really know. So
right.
yeah, and then it's all just sort of like still there. So to
Yeah,
speak. So you gotta
yeah.
like clean it up or whatever. So yeah, yeah, it's tough. So I think it's better to have ones that have actual filters,
Mm.
Yeah,
even
thank
though
you.
they're a pain.
I was going to ask a question about that and I forgot to send it to you ahead of time, but I think you answered it. The idea of after doing like a thorough cleaning, um, doing an ozone, the type where you're, enclosing the space and then afterwards airing all the windows out. You're saying that there still can be byproducts that could be dangerous and could cause sensitivity, right?
I think you would still have to clean after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Yeah.
like to share my experience with that if y'all don't mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So when I was really sick with a mold illness, and I didn't know what I know now, we had an air condition a guy, a friend of ours that was in air conditioning, tell us, well, you need to ozone the house because it kills mold. I just went to a conference and they said it kills mold. So we bought an ozone generator, put it in the house, and we left. We aired the windows up. My husband opened all the windows, aired the house out. We came back in, and I plummeted. I got so sick. But what I didn't understand is that, yes, the ozone will kill the mold spores, but when mold spores die, they put off the mycotoxins as a defense
Uh,
mechanism. So the level of mycotoxins in the house went up way higher, and that's probably why I got so sick, so much even worse than I already was, which I was already almost bedbound at that point anyway, but I got really, really sick after that happened. So, yeah, I don't recommend doing that unless somebody else can come in and clean all the, wipe the ceilings, floors, walls, and get everything out of the house, which is what we eventually had to do before um, I could live in the house
mm,
again.
okay, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's helpful. You know,
That is.
and I think there's some kind of machine, and I don't know if it's ozone or what, but they're like 10 grand. One of our students had, I don't know if you guys have heard, I don't know even what they're called, but there's some machines, and some people have said, oh, they were really great for me. I don't actually know what the mechanism of the machine is. Maybe it has ozone plus a filter. I don't really know. But yeah, I think that's a great share, Janice, and like that's sort of my suspicion. Even the bombs with the citrus stuff, I think it's
Mhm.
better to like wipe after. But like you said, like just a lack of knowledge, right? Like we can't kill mycotoxins. We can kind of transform them or whatever, but if it's
Yeah,
killing mold, yeah, they're stressed and now they're releasing mycotoxins. So we go back to like the basics of removal, containment, removal, cleaning. It's the multiple steps, and
yeah. And
a lot
see,
of people don't
didn't
do that.
have we didn't have mold in our walls or anything like that.
Mm.
We had mold in the air conditioning unit. And we actually called a very well-known mold inspector around here out. And he just kept telling us you have surface mold, but wouldn't tell us, he never clarified where it was at. We eventually had to figure that out on our own. It was in the air conditioning unit. And we eventually got it out. But no one told us, mycotoxins aren't alive or dead. You don't kill mycotoxins, they have to be removed. And so we learned that the hard way. And so
Yeah.
now when I hear these air conditioning guys say, oh, yeah, let me put an I wave in, it'll kill the mold. And I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we all want like the simple solution,
Yeah.
like so a lot of people, even if they get good information, they're like, well, why can't we just do this and save
Yeah.
tons of money?
I healed once we killed the mold out. Actually, completely changed the unit out, and we took everything out of the house, everything, and we did take the mold inspector's advice about all surfaces had to be clean, and they had to be wiped clean. You have to physically remove the toxins. You can't suck them out of the air. They have to be physically removed because they land on the surfaces. So we cleaned walls, floors, ceilings, everything came out and nothing came back in that wasn't able to be wiped down or washed. And I got well.
Good. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, the belongings are such a key thing too that people often don't want to like look at, or they think, oh, it's not a big deal. Like I was sharing that story when I contaminated a house. It's not like we moved beds and couches over. We moved like some clothes and computers. It seemed like no big deal. When you don't know, it seems like no big deal. So
I
yeah,
have a client that came to my home is pristine clean, and I've got air doctors going everywhere. I've got eye waves on my air conditioning unit. I mean, I've got all the things going. I air it out daily. And so I feel good here, but I had a client come to my home that is living in black mold. And I started reacting and flushing, having all the histamine reactions, just
uh,
from her walking in here. And so
wow. Yeah.
it's interesting how it works, but I'm like the other lady. I can't go in build. If I go in a moldy building, I will know it instantly. And there's some. I don't know if it's because the molds are different or if it's because a different level of maybe mycotoxins in the building. I'm not sure, but I do have different reactions depending on the building. Like some are instantly um, brain fog, psycho. My arms and legs feel like they weigh 100 pounds apiece. And then there's some where I just start kind of feeling a little dizzy and I'm thinking, I'm feeling kind of tired. It's different. I don't react the same way to everyone. So, but anyway,
Same. Yeah, I don't know what if it's different strains or different concentrations, same. And there's friends' houses I've literally stayed in and later they've had mold, but I was like seemingly fine and I didn't smell anything. So I think if you keep a pretty clean home, maybe sometimes you don't notice. But yeah, if I walk into sometimes like a certain shop or whatever, I'm like, yeah, sometimes it's quick and sometimes it's a little bit slower. But yeah, so interesting how we react, how smart our bodies are.
yeah, I'm like a mold dog, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
The integrative doctor that I worked for, she's gone house hunting and she's actually brought me out to two different homes to ask me if I detected mold. And both of them were instant no-goes. I could smell it when I
Oh,
walked in. The first one, I was sick for 3 days. My bones, my skin hurt. It was
oh
really, really bad.
gosh.
Yeah. And I was in there maybe 10 minutes tops. I was just showing her how to look for, water damage, but interesting.
Yeah, I know Mickey, when she was looking for a new place in New Jersey, was having a super hard time with finding anything. It took them quite a while. I think it kind of depends where you live, like
Mhm.
the age and the humidity and stuff like that. So, yeah. Um, Anita had some questions on here. Well, we were kind of talking about this. What if I contaminate my new home? Well, so Anita, didn't you say you had your belongings like in storage?
Yeah, but I'm not sure that my mother-in-law's home that we lived in for 16 months while building the house was mold-free. I'm pretty sure it had some mold, and which is why I didn't do very well. I didn't progress there.
Hmm.
So then we washed, every clothes, washed every stitch of clothes, wiped everything down, threw away pillows, but um,
And you have clothes from there that are here now?
yeah, I mean, no, but there's four of us living here, two grown kids, my husband and myself, and I mean, I'm more willing to get rid of stuff. Obviously, I'm more motivated than them. They're not sick. Well, my son is a little sick, but
Mm,
to
gotcha.
throw away the clothes, like I washed them, and I've heard that if just wash them a couple times, or like I now have an ozone thing hooked to my washing machine to where the water is ozoned as it washes, and you don't have to use laundry soap. You
Oh,
can just use the ozone, and it's supposed to be better at cleaning the clothes. So all of our clothes that are being washed now again are being washed through that process. But I mean, there's just things I'm concerned about that have been brought in. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm reacting, but I'm kind of
Wondering.
now that I'm hearing don't bring any clothes, don't bring anything in from the other house or a non-safe place. I'm kind of like, well, then I need to test because things are here I'm suspicious about,
Mm.
or concerned about based on what I'm hearing. And so if I find out, like do a couple of Burmese, one downstairs, one upstairs, and they're high, then I can go, okay, well, I'll go take anything out I'm concerned that I might be concerned about. And then how do we clean the house if that happens? Like,
Well, I think you were right on your second question was, do you remove the items, bomb the house, and wipe it down? Yes, basically, that's what you do. And when I'm telling my clothing story, that was a very moldy house that I was bringing clothes from. So, I do think there can be some range or gray area in this. Like, I've had people tell me they felt good about washing their clothes in the special stuff. I did not. Like, I could put this might be a good test for you. I could put my face in the clothes and get the reaction. So, or if I had like, a bag of shoes or boots or whatever, like I could open it up and tell. I would react. This was after, a little gap, so when you're in it, you can't tell. So that's me. Is it you? I don't know. You know?
no, I'm not as reactive to mold. I can smell it. Like there's a dresser we brought in, and I smell it in the garage, and I'm like, and it was a solid wood, but we bought it. It was from an estate sale 20 years ago, and it was probably 20 years old when we bought it. And there were two pieces, and we've been, using them at the older house. But in the garage, I'm like, mm, I didn't react, but I did smell. I'm like, this smells old. They're like, that's just old wood. And I'm like, yeah, but no. So it got in the house, but they were taking out and getting a new dresser. But I mean, it was in the house for a couple of weeks before I just decided, no, we got to get it out of here and order a new dresser. So it just smelled funky,
Yeah.
Like if you smell anything, then no way. Same thing with a bunch of picture albums that are in the garage. It's like, I don't. There's just something, and it didn't even probably come from the house. It probably just came from being years old and whatever, but
Yeah, I
the mold
agree.
in the last house wasn't bad, like you didn't see it. It was just little here, little there, all remediated, really well. And but then you're like, well, these are clean books, like they don't smell at all. They were closed the whole time. They were in a different room. Do you throw every single piece of paper and every picture and every book away? Or if they smell okay, are you okay? I know when they smell any funny at all, then like, no, get out, stay out. But
Yeah,
they're
I'm not a fan of books and papers, especially if they're yours, right? So we're talking about your family members plus stuff you can control. Anything that's obviously suspicious or large or whatever, out. Things that you can control, I would say out. Yeah, I probably got rid of at least 100 books, manuals, all sorts of stuff, but I don't really miss them either. It's just sad when you're getting rid of them initially.
yeah.
But I mean, you've got this beautiful home. Every time I see your thing, I'm like, oh, your home looks so beautiful and clean. It's like, why risk it? Why risk it for an old
Yeah.
$20 book that you haven't opened in 2 years? Like, just don't do it. Um, yeah, so I think there's a little gray area, but I would say what you can control, do it and just feel good about it. Be like, good, I'm reducing my risk. Good, done. So I get you don't wanna, you know,
But then how do you know? Because if your healing is like this, And it can take, a year or two. How do you know when your house is clean enough for you to heal in? If it's going to be a long, bumpy road where you're forward and backwards, how do you know if you've slowed yourself down through items brought from the last house without testing? Because otherwise,
Yeah.
we see you for 3 years and then finally test and go, oh, I should have tested because I've got a little bit of this, which means I brought something in. I've got to do some research and see what it was, or bomb and, uh, you know,
Yeah.
maybe it's already gone, but I've got to bomb and wipe the whole house down to like check that box.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why best case scenario is nothing comes in, right? Because then you're not questioning, you're not having that in your mind.
Yeah,
But
and
there's,
by myself, that's one thing, but living with 3 other people too, which are kind of hoarders, they're supported the move, but it's like they're having a hard time letting go of their things because they're not sick and they want to support me, but they just don't. They just want what they want. They want their stuff.
well, things can go into like a purgatory type thing, right? If you have a garage, they can go in tubs. It's really not going to come out of a plastic tub. uh,
Right,
Especially if it's a room you're not in. You don't want your living room piled with tubs, but that's a way that they can feel like I still have my stuff, but it's not in your space. I
yeah,
think that's a great middle ground. A lot of people will realize they don't really need that stuff once it's, in that purgatory thing. So
right,
that's one approach. You were having some good days, you shared earlier. Then you ate something that you found out was too much. So they're not all going to be from items, right?
right,
So yeah, but I would look, think about what you can control or what you can put in bins that,
right,
nobody's gonna fuss about, or maybe some
right.
other people are willing to put some stuff in bins. But yeah, I do think, and I love for people to weigh in on this because I do think there can be some gray areas. And I actually, in general, would love to hear more opinions on this because I've heard, for example, Mike Rubino say, everything was clean and replaced except like a client could smell this one spatula that hadn't been replaced. So I've heard examples like that. And then I've heard like Brian Carr will be like, if you can just reduce the load, it can let the person, you know, heal. And that one to me is a little harder to swallow, but I have seen some examples of that. Um, so yeah, maybe I should run like a big survey and see what people say. Because I do think there's some space in there. You wash those clothes a lot, you're in a decent house for 16 months. So but I think, yeah, the more you can put away in storage, the better. You own this home, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
you don't want to screw it up. You can't run away from it. So, and you don't want to be in
Can I jump
constant
in?
cycles. Yeah, go on. Go ahead, Meredith.
Sorry, I thought there was a pause there. I
No, go
didn't
for
mean to
it.
talk over you.
I was getting all
Um,
excited.
yeah, no, I do a consult on this with clients, and some I'm happy to kind of share um a protocol. I mean, I think there are different protocols no matter who you speak to, but they all share a foundational kind of like a three-step process, which is so say contents, right? Like a really vigorous HEPA vacuum to like get rid of larger particles. Um, you can spray a mist over these items, and we can talk about like solutions in a minute, and then wet wiping to actually remove. So again, it is definitely all about the removal. Um, and I think that when you're vigorously HEPA vacuuming, you can create like dust clouds. So the person cleaning can become ill from this process, right? And it's not great to do it in your home, which is why people suggest to like take your contents either outside or in a pod or in a clean garage or somewhere, clean everything, clean your home. And again, with the home, it's, top floor down, top to bottom down, HEPA vacuuming first, people fog, and the idea of fogging is for the particulate that's in the air. So the particulate is attracted to the moisture in the air. It gets weighed down and then it lands on those horizontal surfaces, which you then wet wipe and clean away. And like I talk about like the quality of microfiber that you need to use for this, like for the mycotoxin removal. And then, sometimes I feel like, when you have conversations with remediators who talk about fine particle cleaning or hygienic cleaning, they're I find that they're talking about it from a mold and mold spore perspective, and they're using cleaning agents for mold and mold spore removal. But when I talk about like fine particle cleaning post remediation of your whole home, then we're talking about different solutions. We're talking about solutions for mycotoxins and bacteria. And there is a company, they're called Superstratum.
I
And
have that materials.
you
Yeah.
have, yeah,
Yeah.
I use them on my own remediation.
Mhm.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
And you can go a step further and do their chlorine dioxide bomb.
I have those
You have.
bombs.
Okay,
Yeah.
brilliant. Okay.
Haven't done them because we were going to do them on the old house, but I have
Yeah.
them in case I need to do them here.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can include your contents when you're doing that bomb. You can include your contents with that. So some people don't even remove their stuff from the home if they're doing that bomb. They HEPA vacuum, wet wipe, fog, do the home fog and then the bomb, and then you're kind of covering everything.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's not easy. Oh, and the other thing I do for like um there's that company Immunolytics. They do tap testing plates. And I know inspectors, they don't like these tap testing plates, right? Or these, the plates with agar solution because I think sometimes people use those to look for mold in their home, right? Which is not ideal. But I like to use them to help clients figure out items to keep
Get
or
rid of it.
toss
Yeah.
them away. Because if you tap test an item, say a sofa or something, um, and you count the colonies, they've got a fantastic website teaches you how to count the colonies. And if you've got 8 colonies and then you clean it again and now you're down to 2 colonies, maybe that's okay to keep. But if you've got something that's 10 colonies and you clean it and now it's 8 and you clean it again and it's still 8, that tells me that it needs to go. So it's not a perfect tool. Like none of these are on their own, I don't think. But I think it definitely helps clients have a little bit more confidence about the decision making around certain contents, if that helps.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the tap testing. I think kind of I've been getting a little more negative feedback about immunolytics. I think they just have to like work on their customer service.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the tap testing is kind of a cool option, especially if it's a big item. I guess my one concern is something like clothing. If it's just like kind of leftover mycotoxins, are you gonna tap and find anything? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's more for the mold spores.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not for the mycotoxins. You're right. Again, it's not like a
Not
perfect.
perfect. Yeah, maybe a
Yeah.
couch or a bed or
Yeah.
I had a client the other day. She's so sweet and they moved into a new place. But they don't have much money and they have a bunch of kids and the whole thing. So they bought some used stuff, used furniture. And she was so upset because she got it in and realized she didn't like the smell of it. She was not feeling well, and what should she do? So we're all gonna have clients in this kind of thing. And so I emailed her back and I'm like, it's not necessarily that it's used, right? Like I don't, we don't have to buy everything all at once. I think that's really key. And you can be choosier about even buying used. So you really gotta like similar with the hotel rooms. Like there are some ways to kind of gauge. And sometimes asking, I think she asked the person, has it been around anything? And they're like, no, no. But it was like an old ass couch. So it still had collected, hadn't maybe been around mold, but it was, they're like sponges. And she lives in like Ohio. So, there's some humidity. So, I was like, kind of like we said, get it out. I need to bomb now, and you don't own one yet. Then wipe, and just be more discriminating next time you buy. I bought a couch for our guest room that was saturated to the core by Febreze, and I didn't know because we were running late to pick it up, and I felt embarrassed, so I just took it, and I had to get rid of it. So it's mold, but it can also be other stuff too that we've now become sensitive, dust and scents and all the other things that could be in these items. So uh, it can be a messy process, and yeah, most of us don't have the money to buy everything brand new or whatever, but we just have to do our best and like take a step back if we make an error, so to speak. So I just was going to show that site that you mentioned, Meredith, because I had never been on there, and maybe you can tell us what you like or what you
Oh yeah, the
uh,
immunolytics.
the super stratum.
Oh yeah, and full disclosure, I'm an affiliate because I do like I used it myself. It totally worked on my own home. And I can share a 10% off coupon with you all if you like.
Yes.
So let me and I was just answering Karen's question that the
Oh yeah,
plates
take your time. I'll pull up the other one.
so the plates they're $3 each without any analytics. So they're an agar plate like this, a plastic plate with agar in them. You like tap test, you do this on an item like 5 times on a sofa, for example. I'll find the link for you, but then you tape them up, put them in a closet for 7 days, and then after 7 days, have a look at them and you count the colonies. Or you can send it away for analytics, and that's $36. That'll tell you what the mold, um, not down to the species, but the genus. Um,
I think you guys get a free package of stuff from Immunolytics on your bonuses. Did anybody notice
I
that?
think I saw that, and I haven't done that yet, but I think that's
Yeah,
great that you offer all of
yeah.
that stuff, Bridget. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, go to your bonuses, and I'm pretty sure. And the guy who runs it, what's his name? JJ or something? He's lovely. It was like it's a family business. I just
Yeah,
suspect they've kind of grown too fast, I'm guessing, which is maybe why I'm getting some complaints on their service
yeah.
from my clients. But yeah, it's pretty affordable. You can tap test your dog, you can tap test your spices. It's kind of cool. By the time I found out about them, I was already out of mold and living in Arizona. So I never really used it. But, you
They have
know,
a really nice DIY section on how to read the mold plates yourself. Like they have all these different photographs, and
oh,
so
nice.
like zero to 4 colonies is normal fungal load. 5 to 8 is like, you need to do something about this, and then above 8 is like hazardous.
Okay. Yeah, and here's some of the fogging options we talked about. You can become affiliate of most of these companies um, if you start to like them. So here, I think they might be changing their offerings because it used to just be free to get a consultation, and now maybe it costs more, but maybe they're doing a better job. And here's some bacterial screening of some sort, which we were kind of talking about bacteria last time, and I don't know. Let's see what this two bacteria. They don't say which bacteria. Um, but I know when I've interviewed him, he does know about bacteria because he was talking about things like, like diaper pails and different things can, you know, create a different kind of threat than mold. So, um, yeah, Yeah, there's definitely a good company, but I'm guessing they went through some growing pains is what happened. So, and then let's look at the other one, Meredith, because I'm it's kind
Okay,
of
oh, the super straightener.
yeah. Hold
Yeah.
on. Let me go back to that one. Oh, not that. Oh yeah, that is it. I got into their shop.
So super stratum, it uses a solution called hypochlorous acid, which is it's non-toxic. It's water and salt that has been put through an electrical current,
Hmm.
and it has been third-party tested to it, and it has been proven to remove mycotoxins. Um, the president and scientist at Superstratum, I actually talk to him all the time because I work with a lot of remediators, and he's just so passionate about what he does and so helpful. But anyone from the company, they've all had kind of like some personal experience with mold, and they're all just so genuine and super helpful to talk to. You could just ring them up and like chat with them about stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had never heard of this, so it's really cool.
I'm gonna get so my 10% off is just Meredith Plato, but it's my name.
Yeah, put it, you
Because
can put it in the
it
chat.
can get a little bit expensive. But I basically say to clients, like they've got an everyday cleaner like that in my house and my clients' households, like replaces, I use that for whatever we dust. Um, and then they've got the one that's got a higher concentration, the building cleaner, and that's designed to go through a fogging machine.
Oh, okay.
But you
Okay.
can use this on your floorboards, everything. Hypochlorous acid is like it's globally the number one cleaning agent. Hospitals use it. It has no smell. It's like it's completely safe. It's really an amazing product.
Awesome. This could also Anita
Oh,
is
and that
like
was
our little guinea pig,
15%.
but I was gonna say like in your client as your client moves into a new place or as we move into a new place, yeah, absolutely. Like when we just do our regular cleaning, a way we can feel more peace of mind is yeah, use Citrus Safe or use these products, use a HEPA vacuum, like doing a lot of wet dusting because then it's like always a little treatment. I live in Arizona, so I honestly I don't feel like I have to worry. I am very good about like cleaning and dusting, or at least pretty good, because I get that it's an issue and where it collects, but it's so dry here, like I don't feel like I have to use mold spray every time I clean. But for a lot of people, it's a fantastic idea. So it shouldn't just be the air purifier. It should be how we clean is constantly, working on that. And constantly decluttering too, right? I think I'm going to pair with an
Yeah.
old friend of mine who does like some clutter trainings. Um, because things just collect, right? And that just makes space for humidity and bacteria and mold. So I think Anita, you're in a beautiful new empty space, but this is just more in general, like for people who want to have a safe home, right? Okay, sorry to cut you off, Meredith. What were you saying?
No, you didn't cut me off.
Okay, so she
I
put
was,
the tap plates in there.
yeah, I'm just getting the link.
Okay, for your code. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I love it. Okay, that's about that time. Any other questions before we wrap up?
I just wanted to offer support to Anita with what the strategies you were asking if people had thoughts on strategies earlier for getting rid of stuff. Um, what I found helpful, Anita, and maybe this could work with family members, is feeling attached to certain clothes or items. Like, you know how you just kind of do a spring cleaning once a year for donations? So maybe it would be helpful. I found this helpful for me. Maybe have them like, your triple bagging clothes they're not super attached to. It's like, we're not getting rid of it. We're just gonna like triple bag it, put it in the garage. And then, as time goes on, then they, being distanced from it, they might be able to later then go through and select like the top three favorites. But I think paring down the amount of clothes was a definite, with my family, was a definite challenge. So we divided things into, okay, let's see about this and wait till later kind of categories. Let's donate this now. This is contaminated. We can see it's an issue. Let's throw it out. And then in terms of like photos, there's those photo scanners, which I'm hoping to do with all my albums and to create like a digital, recollection. And I discovered that Adobe has I have an iPhone, so I don't know if this is true on other phones, but the Adobe application, I do pay for some Adobe tools, but the particular app they have, it's like a scanner that on your phone. You can like literally go over artwork or pictures and scan it all into like one PDF and upload it and save it. So I just wanted to throw that out there in terms of any papers or like collections of things people may be attached to. I did it with a whole bunch of medical papers and stuff that I didn't want to throw out completely or keep like in paper form. It really was helpful and easy, super easy. It like crops it for you. It adjusts the lighting, and then you can name it whatever you want, and then just upload it, to your hard drive or the cloud or whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for smaller things you can do that. Yeah, I definitely had people ask me about artwork before. I think, yeah, this best, and we probably shouldn't call it purgatory. Well, maybe we can for our clients, but the kind of like, let's put stuff away and we can always get it back later. Also, we're changing seasons with clothes, so those can be put away. Winter clothes can be put away. Um, but yeah, artwork, things like that. I'm always just on the like, I would rather not risk it. But Meredith is showing these products. It looks like you can spray it to break down the biofilm and then spray it again and then wipe it off. To me, it's a ton of work. And you don't know if it's gonna work. Especially if, canvas has the wood frame. How you technically you have to sand wood, right? To clean it properly. That's a big pain. Who wants to do that? So to me, I'm like, just put it, Marie Kondo it, like just get it out. You can all, you don't have to decide it all at once. And not just you, Anita, like millions, lots of people are trying to make these same decisions. I think the best one, the best way to look at it is, yeah, if there's no new belongings, we're taking that factor. Right? There's no old belongings, we're taking that factor out of the equation, right? So, and I think most families have to kind of learn that the hard way. Mine did, but I didn't know much. But, I even see, like Coach Mickey, who's amazing, and her husband now tests and remediate. They redid their whole house, got new appliances, everything. I think there was a new water incident. Um, so yeah, it's just tough. Like it's tough to get it all right, even people who are trying really hard. So I think we should all remember to don't be like too hard on ourselves. Because yeah, I remember when I bought that Febreze mattress, I was like, what am I doing? What, you get all hard on yourself, but we're all gonna make mistakes and we just have to kind of like adjust, make as few as possible and adjust. And I will say, Anita, to your point about how do I know? I mean, when I moved to Arizona, I know I did not have any mold in my house. I know I had no old belongings. And I still went through a roller coaster for at least 2 more years. Not to say I wasn't functional. I was driving, I was taking trips, I was working. But were my glands swollen? Yes. Was I still having 5-day histamine headaches? Yes. I was still having all this stuff. Maybe I had some colonization still. I definitely, yeah, I did have mark-ons. I know it wasn't a factor, and still I went through all that. So keep that in mind. It may not be the environment when you go through all your ups and downs. So it's just the body, purging and recovering and still weak. I think Neil Nason talks about different body systems. The cell turnover is different, and there's going to be different lengths of time for different systems to come back uh, on board again. Um, so, and sometimes we're so hard on ourselves with my car accident clients, like they get discouraged. I have to do the same pep talks with them. And they're, I'm not getting better, I'm not getting better. But we see it, right? Because they come to clinic every month and they're walking more normally. Their face is brighter. They're starting to like do more activities. Like, so they're in their feelings or their bad day, but the progress is coming. The progress is coming along. And it's been amazing for me to see in that environment, no matter who comes in the door, if they stick to it, they come out of the door eventually basically better. Maybe some little stuff to manage, just like we will with mold. But sometimes I tell them, like, stop thinking about it so much. Like, should you be here? Why is this taking so long? Just show up, turn your brain off, show up. We are taking care of you. Just keep coming. Because I've seen all these people come through and eventually we discharge them. That's what happens. So I think that that's, what we all need to remember is like, our brains can be like our worst enemy. And we're all doing a great job as long as we keep showing up, So, yeah, I don't know if you guys have any success stories you want to share or something, but I can tell you that, I've seen lots of people come through to the other side of mold, and they're clients I met a long time ago. Sadly, it takes a while usually, but they do come through, and it's beautiful to see. So I think we can all get there. You guys everybody in this thing has gone through it, and you're here learning and serving. So it really says a lot. Awesome. I'm like very chatty today, you guys. Um, well, thank you so much for being here. I love our live calls. We will have one more in 2 weeks. I will be a little bit more forthcoming on like sending out where you can send in a case study, how to do your feedback thing, if we're going to keep doing like a monthly group thing. So I will get that all out to you sooner than later. But have a wonderful week ahead. Good to see your faces. Bye, everybody.